Hi, I'm Shaul. Season's greetings to everyone who is celebrating. It's the end of 2025, the half-decade mark. It is a great time to look back, maybe a little bit forward into the near future, and discuss the position of every important photography gear manufacturer. So I will try to make it interesting by personifying those large companies and giving them a face. Anyway, what I'm going to say is, of course, my own opinion. There's a bit of tongue-in-cheek in this video, so please don't be offended. I have nothing against either of those companies, of course. So let's start with Fuji. Why not? Fuji is a maturing pop star. It's a little bit past its peak, past its prime. You can already see gray hair here and there in the beard. Fuji has dominated the young, cool segment of the market by making cameras with a specific flavor. Fuji has been leading the APS-C segment of the market for ages. Because of the optics it makes, there is no competition for those very refined primes, faster or slower, but those are excellent primes, always been. Of course, there's also the retro style design and Fuji's expertise for color. Really lovely JPEG files, straight out of camera. Fuji users typically are interested in the output. They are true photographers who are not too concerned with what's going on under the hood. They are interested in the image, in the output. However, Fuji is bogged down by its choice to use very detailed sensors in its cameras. You could argue that 40 megapixels is a little bit too much for an APS-C sensor. It puts enormous demands on the optics. So they have to resolve all this resolution. The newer updated optics Fuji makes are full of ED glass, which makes the images a little on the flat side, on the clinical side, which goes against their ethos of adopting the film look. Images coming out of Fuji cameras look nothing like film, of course. They are digital, very digital. But it doesn't seem to bother their fan base too much. Their fan base is very loyal. Fuji has been grooming a true community around film simulations, around retro interface of the cameras. Fuji's technical challenge is autofocus. It hasn't been able to compete in that front with other manufacturers. The autofocus in its cameras is a little bit of weakness. Those are not sports cameras, not wildlife cameras, which is a shame, because Fuji could really lead the market in applications where high pixel density is an advantage, like wildlife, like macro. But it doesn't have a good offering of lenses for those applications, and for wildlife it would perhaps need a more robust autofocus. It doesn't seem to bother its users, most of them anyway. If I asked Fuji, are you happy with where you are? They would probably say, well, don't be ridiculous. Do you realize how much Instax paper we sell? Next is Panasonic, the faithful family friend. Panasonic has always been slow in adopting new technologies, but once it adopts them, it can somehow manage to squeeze more performance out of them than any of its competitors. It was slow to adopt IBIS, in-body image stabilization, back in the Micro Four Thirds days. It was slow to adopt phase detection autofocus on the sensor. It was slow to adopt stacked sensors. You see, Panasonic is coming from the perspective of video. And in the video tradition, you don't sacrifice quality, image quality, for speed so much. It's different with photography, where high-speed applications sometimes require a concession made to the quality. Panasonic's camera division is a very small part of this huge conglomerate. It doesn't have the resources of companies like Sony or Canon. So it always sought to collaborate with traditional players in the photography market. At the start of the century, it was Olympus and Leica. Now, with the L-mount consortium, it's Leica again and Sigma. Other players are invited to join that consortium and contribute their expertise. So slowly Panasonic is gaining access to more optics, to more technologies. And it is building a very well-rounded system, combined it with its support for its products. Panasonic keeps releasing well-targeted, very useful firmware updates that actually make its products work better. They address specific issues the users face, and they address them successfully. Recently, Panasonic released a firmware update to fix camera heating in its latest models. And at the same time, it also improved autofocus in a tangible way. The build quality of Panasonic products has always been excellent. The ergonomics are very well thought out too. However, it is a slow company. The rate of innovation is somewhat frustratingly slow. If I ask Panasonic, are you happy with where you are now? They would probably say, what is happiness? One thing is for sure, we are all going to die one day. So let the time we have left be productive. Move on to Nikon, the enfant horrible. Nikon has been an old company. It dominated the Japanese camera market many years ago and for many decades. Then it lost its leading place to Canon and stayed at the second place for many decades. But then, about 10 years ago, it started losing steam fast. It made some cataclysmic mistakes past decade, like failing to acknowledge bad products, failing to prepare for the mirrorless era with decent autofocus, while Canon and especially Sony were working hard on a solution to replace the traditional phase detect autofocus on a separate unit in the camera. Then came the watershed year, 2018, where the whole camera industry changed at once. Nikon, Canon, and Panasonic replaced their mounts to a new mirrorless, more efficient mount, while Sony made its first efficient, very usable mirrorless camera, the A7 III. Nikon arrived at the watershed unprepared. It was an old, hubris-laden, traditional company with a stagnant culture, and it suffered a true existential crisis. It could not compete with other manufacturers at that time. Its first iteration of mirrorless cameras was lackluster. It didn't have the autofocus, the power, the repertoire of optics. But then Nikon went through a sudden transformation. It became this young, dynamic, fearless company that puts innovation at its heart. It dropped its prices for cameras mainly. It made interesting optics. Some of them are designed like old school lenses that produce quite different images from what is the sharp, clinical, very serious standard for imaging. It bought red in order to gain access into the fast-growing video and cinema segment. Nikon seems to understand better than anyone else that a mirrorless camera is only a platform. It's a playground to test new ideas, new implementations of software. And it releases regular firmware updates for all its cameras that have a dual purpose. On the one hand, it supports the cameras, the users who bought them, and fixes problems with the camera, while also giving those cameras new capabilities. On the other hand, it's a way for Nikon to test its ideas on a large scale. If you follow those firmware updates, you can see clearly where Nikon is going. It's an open kind of innovation, of development. The understanding that a camera is a work in progress over its entire life leaves a lot of rough edges when a camera is just announced. Not every feature works perfectly, unlike products made by Sony or Panasonic or Canon. There is place for improvement left by Nikon. But those quirks are mostly forgivable. The market understands Nikon's mind. For instance, the new ZR, that small cinema camera, it has so many quirks, it has so many weaknesses, but it is still exciting for the industry, not only because of its low price, but also because of the innovative thinking put into it. It offers some features no other product in that segment has. The versatile mount, the large screen, the advanced audio capabilities, and of course the image quality. So most of its users forget about the ergonomics that are not the best in the world. They don't mind the micro HDMI port or the placement of the memory card inside the battery compartment. Those are small issues compared to what this camera offers for the price. But at its heart, Nikon still caters for an older, more traditional audience, made mostly of Japanese gentlemen. This is why it still produces cameras such as this one, filming me now, the ZF. It's not a camera that was created to compete with Fuji or with Leica, heaven forbid. It's a camera that harkens back to the days of the professional Nikon film SLR. Nikon seems to be the only company that still makes optics to match the older look. So it maintains a line of more classic lenses that do not use any ED glass, and therefore they create a deeper, more dimensional, true-to-life image that paradoxically also appeals to cinematographers. If I asked Nikon, are you happy with where you are? They would probably say, well, we never thought of that. We are busy growing. Next is Sony, the tragic hero. Sony became the technological leader of the industry almost overnight. And it happened by accident when in around 2012, they realized they could squeeze a full-frame sensor into the E-mount, the mirrorless mount originally made for APS-C. The next step they made was a stroke of genius. They opened up the mount and partnered with Zeiss to build some very good optics to support it. Sony never specialized in optics until then, and it needed other suppliers of lenses to fill in the new system. Anyway, since then, Sony has been working hard on filling up the lens lineup and on autofocus and speed. It dominated the mirrorless market for half a decade before other companies joined in and released their own mirrorless mounts. That worked against Sony in a way. The new, very advanced technologies attracted a lot of tech types, people who were fascinated by the technology, not by the photographic output coming out of those image-making machines. And Sony, being Sony, failed to create a gestalt, an experience that is greater than the sum of its parts. Their cameras are still machines. They do exactly what they are supposed to do. You don't get the luxurious experience like you experience when looking through a Nikon viewfinder or opening a Canon RAW file. The image quality is very clinical, very sharp. You don't get those nice colors you obtain with a Fuji or a Nikon or a Canon. Sony's video implementation is clearly uncinematic. Sony's competitors have been closing the technological gaps. Gaps are there to be closed. I can't escape the feeling that Sony is panicked right now. It is terrified of what the other players will do. It realizes they have an advantage because some of them have a long tradition in the photography world. They know how to treat color, how to process the signal coming out of the sensor in a more appealing way. That they are terrified of what Canon might do, of the technologies they have in their back pocket that have not been implemented yet in consumer cameras. They are terrified of Panasonic, who are that close from knocking down the wall that separates video from cinema. And they are terrified of Nikon. God knows what they are going to do next with their imaginative innovation. They know that Z-mount held by Nikon can take all their magnificent repertoire of lenses. So you can use a Nikon camera with a third-party E-mount lens without ever touching Sony. And they are also bothered by the fact that Nikon now holds the patent for internal RAW recording, which they will never be able to do, not in the next decade or so. And to add to all this, Sony is terrified of its own user base. Every move they make is met with an angry, loud roar. If I asked Sony, are you happy? They would probably say, yes, we are happy, but we are terrified. Last comes Canon, the boss. Canon has been comfortably leading the industry for the past 40 years or so. It is best placed to keep this leadership. It has everything in-house. A sensor manufacturing unit, an optics department with a lot of knowledge and experience. They know how to process the signal coming out of the sensor. A very good reputation for their colors in JPEG and for fast, efficient processing. And they have perhaps the best market access with a very efficient marketing team. It crossed the watershed moment of 2018 unscathed. It was well prepared for the transformation of mounts from the old EF mount to the new RF mount. And they know exactly what they do. They have a very well thought out strategy for years to come. It is so powerful, it in de facto regulates the rate of innovation, of advancement in the entire industry. Other manufacturers, its competitors, always keep an open eye to see what Canon might do next. They are affected by Canon's decisions, by Canon's moves. And it seems like Canon has a winning card in its back pocket, some type of disruptive technology that could kill the entire industry if they decided to implement it in its consumer cameras. Canon's products are perhaps the best tailored for the user's needs in any of the segments. They are well-rounded, they are easy to use. Perhaps they don't have any surprises in them, but they're very usable. They are polished and efficient. Canon doesn't seem to hurry anywhere. It is pacing its innovation. But when something has to be done quickly, Canon has the capability to do it. An example of that is the VCM line of lenses. In about 2 years, Canon made 6 such lenses, which are all fast f1.4 primes with a similar size and weight, made for both stills and video. And they are good lenses. And all that is achieved with one arm tied behind the back. Canon's RF mount is a well-protected one. It is not open to third-party manufacturers, not with autofocus support anyway. If Canon decided to open the mount, they could easily bankrupt all its competitors. Perhaps except Sony. If I asked Canon, are you happy with where you are? They would say, yes, of course we're happy, but shh, don't tell anyone. To sum everything up, if I were looking to buy my first camera with interchangeable lenses and having to choose one of the systems for a polished, well-rounded, effective operation, I would look at Canon, Panasonic, and Sony. For optical versatility, if I wanted to play with different lenses made for different mounts, I would look at Nikon. For being part of a community with a lot of support and a sense of friendship, I would look at Fuji. For continuous support, I would look at Nikon and Panasonic. For surprising, innovative capabilities, I would look at Nikon. And perhaps the most important aspect of this decision would be image quality. in the wide sense of this term. I feel that the best image quality in stills, but also in video, is still provided by Fuji, Canon, and Nikon, the older manufacturers who have deep roots in the photographic industry. And this is what still makes a difference in this little bubble we are so obsessed by. Right. I wish you a very happy 2026. If you would like to support this channel, please consider buying me a coffee. It's a nice gesture between gentlemen. You will find a link in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and see you again in the new year.